Mike Johnson's meltdown today might go down as one of the most humiliating public defenses of Donald Trump ever caught on camera. The Speaker of the House, who loves to preach about morality and faith, was forced to explain why the President of the United States, yes, the same one facing multiple indictments, just posted a video of himself literally dumping feces on protesters. And what came next? A full-blown breakdown that perfectly captures the moral rot of Trump's Republican Party. Johnson has built his brand around Christian values, claiming he's fighting for decency and God's law. But when Trump behaves like a 12-year-old internet troll or a dictator desperate for attention, suddenly Johnson's scripture gets fuzzy. Let's start with what he was actually defending. So let's get this straight. The President of the United States shared an AI-generated clip of himself as King Trump, flying a jet that literally dumps brown sludge onto peaceful protesters, including one of his critics, activist Harry Sisson. That's not satire. That's state-sponsored bullying. And if any Democratic president ever did this, Fox News would be running 24-hour countdowns to impeachment. But instead of condemning it, here's how Mike Johnson tried to justify it today. And it's one of the most unhinged defenses you'll ever hear.
The president uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing. I mean, they're in one of these photos. I think there's a picture of the president hanging in effigy by a noose on one of these. The one on the far end. I mean, it's unconscionable. Look, America is built on the idea of free speech. You have the right to protest. Of course, we jealously guard that. I mean, Chip and I are attorneys. We've defended that right in the courts. But what they're doing right now is different. They are trying to incite violence. It's not funny. You don't mock a president who has already had 2 failed assassination attempts on his life. This is not a game. And the idea that communists would be supporting this is unconscionable to us. Look, when we give tours of the House chamber and we bring in constituents and we point out all the historical facts and images around the building, I always start with "In God We Trust," which of course is right above the rostrum of the Speaker's podium. And if you look in the visitor's guide to the House chamber, it says on page 14. When was that put there? Well, it's put there in the early 60s, 1961, as I recall. And it says in the guide that it was put there, Congress voted to put that there as a rebuke to the Cold War era Soviets. Why? Because their philosophy, that's what it says, a rebuke to their philosophy. Their philosophy was Marxism. Marxism begins with the premise that there is no God. It is antithetical to who we are as Americans.
There it is. Johnson's trademark cocktail of religious panic, Cold War paranoia, and absolute nonsense. Instead of addressing why the president just posted digital feces online, he's babbling about Marxism and the Soviets. That's not leadership, that's desperation. Let's be clear, over 7 million Americans marched under the No Kings banner this weekend, peacefully, patriotically, and constitutionally. Trump's allies are terrified of that kind of unity, so they label protesters terrorists, communists, or violent extremists. It's the oldest trick in the authoritarian playbook. When citizens demand accountability, call them enemies of the state. And when that doesn't work, send Mike Johnson to moralize about God while defending the most godless behavior imaginable. What's really obscene here isn't Trump's post. It's the fact that the Speaker of the House felt obligated to justify it. It's proof that the Republican Party no longer has a moral compass. They've traded integrity for idolatry, worshiping a man who humiliates the presidency daily and turning the Bible into a prop for political theater. Marxism doesn't start with no God, but Trumpism, it starts with no shame. So when Mike Johnson tells you this was satire, remember what he's really saying. In Trump's America, cruelty isn't a bug, it's the brand. And as long as men like Johnson keep defending it, the Republican Party will keep sinking into the sludge they're trying so hard to normalize. If you believe America deserves better than this circus of lies, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because exposing Republican hypocrisy isn't just news, it's public service.